Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am also joined by my co-host, Michael Hall. But we are also joined by very special guest and big Tampa Bay fan, Trevor Sikkema, the senior NFL draft writer for the Draft Network. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Trevor. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm not going to lie. I did some research on the podcast before I came on, and y'all might have the cleanest podcast like logo in the game. Like when I went to iTunes, I looked it up, like all three of y'all are there, and it looks absolutely clean. So I had to give y'all the shout out for that before we started.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Very much. Because yes, that was a great photo shoot to say the least. The outtakes were amazing. But let's get right into it, Trevor. There is a big matchup coming up on Saturday. The Washington football team is facing off against your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And
Yes.
so I have to pick your mind because you are one of the best in the business. And there is a big chance there's a 100% chance that Devin White is not going to be playing in this game. How big of a loss is that for the Tampa Bay defense?
No, I think that it's pretty big because for as much as Bucs fans and just people in general who watch the team might want to kind of nitpick how he is in coverage, he's a high energy guy. He'll give you sideline to sideline speed the entire game. He's kind of that heartbeat right in the middle. And like Levante David would have been, like if they were to lose Levante David, that's a bigger deal because he does a lot more in coverage. He's got a better feel for it. He's better at forcing fumbles. He's better at getting in front of passes for interceptions. So like losing David would have been objectively worse. But these are the two linebackers that constantly play. I mean, they're on the field almost 100% of the snaps the entire game. It doesn't really matter whether they're in sub package or whether they're in base or whatever. And so losing Devin White is a big deal. Now, for the Bucs, thankfully, they've got a good veteran behind him. I mean, like Minter's a veteran who knows the system. He's been around Bowles. He's been around Arians. And so he's a good guy to plug in there. He's not going to look lost or anything. And so I wouldn't say that it's going to be super exploitable, but in terms of like the high end play that you might get from that LB2 spot that White normally gives you, obviously you're not getting that as much with Minter, who isn't a spring chicken anymore.
Yeah, and so let's flip this to the other side of the football. One of the biggest questions around this game is around the GOAT, Tom Brady, and how the Washington football team, based on your opinion, how can they pressure Brady? How can they get to him?
So that's the big matchup, right? I mean, everybody talks about the front for Washington. That's y'all's strength, and that's going to continue to be. I mean, everybody saw the clip that went viral when Chase Young called out Tom Brady, and people also, they're taking that a little bit out of context because when you go back to the combine, he said that at the combine too. You know, he said like they asked him, they were like, "Oh, who could you sack?" He's like, "I want to sack Tom Brady." I love it. Like I truly do. So I cover draft prospects, getting a little bit of a tangent here, and of course we watch how they are on the field. We get to assess them as players when they put the pads and the helmet on. But something I really enjoy about the draft process is when that helmet comes off and you get to see guys' personality, of course. And I have a saying that I love to, live by, but this is something that I bring up constantly is that when you draft people as much as players. That goes into the prospect that ends up becoming a pro for you. And so for Chase Young, I have only loved more and more of who he is as a player, the more that I found out about him. So like, I love that he kind of like jokingly, Tom Hardy, he's like, yeah, I want Brady. I want to sack Brady, but getting back to the matchup, that's the big deal. And it's going to be tough for Washington because Tampa's offensive line is playing really well. I mean, the interior was already strong. Jensen's a mean cuss. Ali Marpet's an all-pro player. They've had a really good play out of Cap at right guard. Tristan Wirfs has been unbelievable as a rookie at right tackle. And so where you thought that might have been an area to exploit, probably not the case anymore. Donovan Smith is probably the weakest link at left tackle on the offensive line. And so how they scheme up who they have over there or how they're getting guys home in that matchup, that's probably where you're going to look. But it's going to be tough because it's not like this offensive line is bad enough for Brady to really be rattled. And it would just have to, it would have to be a great day from Washington's defensive line and probably a not great day from Tampa's offensive line if you really wanted to get Brady off of where he's comfortable. Because we know, like you said before, he's seen it all. He's been around this league so long. He's 43 years old. Pressure doesn't always get to him because it's just he's seen it so much.
Right. And then Mike Evans was a big question mark throughout the week. I know he got banged up in week 17 with that knee. He practiced today. How healthy do you think that Mike Evans is? And I know that he'll most likely start. Do you see him being more as like a decoy red zone threat, or do you think that we will see the real Mike Evans?
Yeah, I'll tell you. He's been with this franchise since 2014. Him and Levante David was drafted in 2012. They ain't even seen anything close to a playoff game since both those guys came in the league. And so the first game that he's back, I knew that if Mike Evans, unless the doctor basically said to Mike Evans, like, you're not playing the rest of the season, he was going to try to gut it out. And so, yes, I totally think that he's going to run out of the tunnel. I don't really know, because Mike isn't a guy who, agility is like super in his wheelhouse. So like he might be able to, you just package him in and put him in the red zone. But shoot, if I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to bet against the guy to play the normal role. And so that's what I would tell people heading into it. I really do think that with him out there warming up and testing the knee already this week, I think that they are going to give him as much as he could possibly handle on his plate. And right off the bat, he's going to want to be that dominant number one wide receiver. So maybe not as many snaps, since they have Chris Godwin, they have Antonio Brown, they have Rob Gronkowski, but he's going to play plenty. I'll just say that. He'll play plenty.
And sticking with the offensive side of the ball, everyone knows the big name guys, the Evans, the Godwins, even Antonio Brown. He's come on the last like month and a half or so.
Yeah.
Who's a guy that's kind of underrated on this offense that people don't really talk about that might give this Washington defense fits?
So, it's funny because this is a typical like question that you get. You talk about underlying matchups because you have the guys that line up big on big, best on best, and you want to figure out who that X factor guy is. And it's so funny because you go down to wide receiver 3 on this Tampa Bay team, and it's Antonio freaking Brown. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. But if I had to say kind of one guy that might be able to come out of nowhere and just make one or two plays that might make all the difference, it would be tight end Cam Brate. He's been an underrated guy for the last 4 or 5 years with Tampa. I mean, they drafted OJ Howard, and so he became that tight end 2 there. They have Rob Gronkowski, and so he's tight end 3 in a lot of sets, but he's just very reliable. He's got a great connection with whether it was Jameis Winston or Tom Brady, and so I think that he could be an X factor there. And then 2, I know Washington isn't necessarily a team that gives up a lot of explosives. They don't give up a lot of deep stuff, but when they have, it's normally been huge plays, like 40, 50-yard kind of plays like that. If any player is really going to burn them big like that, it would be wide receiver Scotty Miller. He's just this kind of smaller, shiftier, faster wide receiver. I mean, he was a big track guy at Bowling Green coming out. And so that would be the guy where it's like, hey, we see the safeties creeping up a little bit. We think we got him where we want him. If they're going to take a shot play, it's probably going to be with a guy like Scotty Miller.
Right. Now, real quick, just so you know, I'm Mike, by the way. Nice to meet you. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I had the wrong headphones. Apple had to go switch up the jack on me, and then it threw me off. But by the way, I know it's the worst. I want you to know I love your guys' draft website. I follow you guys all the time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody wants to check that out, that's the one place that you guys can go into a full 7-round mock draft with your team, by the way. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But switching gears a little bit to the other side, I know Tampa has the number one, by far and away, the best rush defense in the NFL, at least in terms of yards allowed. But if you were Washington, how would you attack this defense? What would you do to kind of get some consistent output from this offense?
So the way that I would look at it is like this: it's going to be tough to run the ball no matter what. Like even without Devin White, and kind of like I was saying before, they've got some they have Minter coming in and playing a veteran presence for them at linebacker, so it's not like he's going to be a super big liability,
right?
Especially when it comes to like his gaps. And so running on this team is going to be tough, even without Vita Vea, which they have and had for most of the season, which has been kind of crazy. But the area I think that you can really exploit this Tampa team if they continue to play the way that we've seen over the last couple of weeks is Tampa's playing off zone a lot with their corners, and it's come through criticism from Bucs fans and people who watch the team because they go, okay, Carlton Davis, he's a man coverage corner. He's a guy that likes press, get him close to the line of scrimmage. Jamel Dean, he's kind of that same kind of player. Sean Murphy Bunting's good when you get him and you can get him his hands on guys in the slot. And instead they're playing more soft zone coverage than you would think they would. And so for a team like Washington, I feel like, one, they have some playmakers where, especially McLaurin, if you get the ball in his hands, he can make magic happen. And so I think that if Washington is just patient, then they might be able to move the ball more than you think. Now, Tampa has really adopted this new age style of defensive philosophy where it's like, we will give you the yards, but then we're going to wait for our moment to go get a takeaway and get an extra possession for our offense. Because Tampa right now, I think they're number 6 in the NFL when it comes to average turnovers forced per game. And so they are playing that strategy very well. But a lot of times it feels like these teams they play get impatient, right? I mean, like they'll take the small passes, they'll take the yards, and then they'll be like, okay, we want the shot play. And normally they're ready for the shot play. So if you're Washington, the area you might be able to exploit on Tampa's side of the ball and defensively is if they continue to give you soft coverage, continuing to march down the field, continue to work the clock, keep things in your favor there, keep Brady off the field, and maybe get yourself into red zone and field goal range for most of the game.
Well, good thing Alex Smith can't throw the ball downfield. So
right. I mean, they played Drew Brees that way in the second matchup of the season. Second matchup. And, like, Brees can't throw anymore. Like, y'all know that, like, Brees cannot throw anymore. And they continue to just give him exactly what he wanted. They continue to give him his wheelhouse throws. And that was one of those games where it's like, Bowles, defensive coordinator for Tampa, like, what are you doing, man? And so that's one of those things where it's like they seem to be committed to playing their style of defense no matter what, which actually works well now for Alex Smith.
Yeah, and speaking of Alex Smith, Trevor, if in your opinion as an NFL analyst and everything, what do you think gives the best chance for the Washington football team against Tampa? Do you think it's Taylor Heineke and having the Brett Favre type of mindset of the gunslinger, or is it Alex Smith having the check down wheel routes and his constant throws? What do you think is the biggest I'm not going to say it, but weapon against Tampa?
Okay, so it's funny that I just talked about how probably the best strategy is for them to be patient in their offense, but at the same time, I think Washington scored more than 30 points once this season. It was against Dallas, right, when they had 41.
Right.
Tampa has scored more than 39 times. And so it's just like that's what they do. They score more than 30. And so for as much as I think Tampa might be giving them what makes sense for Alex Smith's wheelhouse, if they don't score more than 30 points, they're not going to win this game, I don't think. I think it's going to take more than 30. And it might not take too much more than 30 because I don't want to disrespect Washington's defense too much. They've been playing really strong. They have a strong front. I think the corners have been playing well at times this season. And so it's like, I want to give them their respect there, but I just know Tampa's offense, especially how they've been playing the last 3 weeks, they're in sync here. And so if you're not getting 31, 34, I just don't think that you're going to win. And of course, in the playoffs, it's not, oh, shucks, we were close. It's a building block for next week. It's okay. Our season is over. So, you know, that's I'm not exactly sure who you play because I don't know how well Heineke can really make things happen. But it's going to be a game where Washington's going to have to get a little bit out of their comfort zone and probably put more points on the board than they're used to.
Yeah, and then the one question I wanted to ask you, because I believe it is a hot topic, there are others around the league that deserve consideration, but do you believe that Ron Rivera is the coach of the year?
I mean, he's close. There's so many coaches that have really put themselves in the conversation for coach of the year. I mean, like what Sean Payton did while Drew Brees was out with Taysom Hill was incredible. I mean, you know, what Kevin Stefanski's been able to do with Cleveland up there.
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores and how he was able to get a double digit. I knew I was going to forget somebody's going to yell at me, but that's just kind of the way that it is. But of course, Ron Rivera, it wasn't the greatest year. Yeah, they're in the playoffs with under 500. But when you look at the situation that he came into as a coach with that roster, and especially when you looked at that situation, you thought, okay, well, at least we have what we think is our young franchise quarterback. I know there are split opinions with Haskins already, but like you thought, okay, Ron Rivera's here. He's going to fix this out. You know, it's no longer the Jay Gruden regime where there was all this split. Like finally Haskins can get under get his feet wet and really get set in the NFL. That didn't even happen. And now all of a sudden, like he's making things happen with backup QBs and third string QBs. And for Washington to be here, he deserves at least, you know, a hat tip, a salute, a head nod, a whatever, a shout out, whatever you want to say.
A holiday maybe.
Something. Even if he doesn't end up getting coach of the year, it's been pretty remarkable to see what he's been able to do and how much control he's been able to take, which is a good thing within that organization.
Yeah. Now, with Deshaun Watson, that news came out today that he could possibly be requesting a trade, which made Washington Twitter just explode with all of these scenarios that could possibly go down. So let me ask you, what would it possibly take to get that haul? And do you think it's possible? And do you think it's going to happen?
Well, of course, do I think it's going to happen? Houston would be out of their minds, right? I mean, because for as abysmal as Bill O'Brien was when he got general manager duties, even when he was a head coach and got GM duties, one thing that he did do right is lock up Deshaun Watson, because even Bill O'Brien couldn't ruin that for the Houston Texans. And so, messed that one up. And so I think that them locking him up was really smart. There's obviously no incentive at all for Houston to move on from him, whether no matter where the next regime of head coach and general manager think they are in terms of a winning window, it wouldn't make any sense to move on from Deshaun Watson. He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, especially for his age and what he's been doing recently, coming off a career year with what would argue is his worst offensive weapons yet. Now, if Watson demands out, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because at that point, you've got a very disgruntled quarterback. And I still don't think they would trade him. I think that it would probably be a while before they move on. But if Watson simply said, I'm not playing for this franchise anymore, what you would have to give up for him, and people are talking about like, oh, would he give like 7 first-round picks? And okay, no. You get to a point where you're trading future first-round picks to where it starts to become like, okay, there's no reason you're throwing more on there. So what I think that it would take is, we're talking multiple first-round picks. We're talking 2-3 first-round picks, but also the Texans would probably demand 1 or 2 good, if not great, young players in return. So like they would want something that is already, like, draft picks are great, right? But when you're losing Watson, you also want a player or 2 who has already proved it in the NFL. And so that's what I really do think, that it might take, like 2 first-round picks and then like a stud, depending on who the stud is, and maybe 2 young players or something like that. But Houston would be crazy to move on from him, but I guess Deshaun has all the power, doesn't he?
Yeah, yes, he does. And so, Trevor, to finish this up, I can't let you escape here without asking you for your prediction for the game on Saturday night.
Okay, do you want like a score or just like how it's going or what?
Score.
I will say
it's okay if you hurt our feelings.
It's perfectly fine.
I'll say right now that I love y'all and appreciate y'all having me on this podcast, and we can get that out of the way before I get to score. I mean, I think it's probably going to be Tampa 31 or 34, somewhere within that range, and I think Washington's going to score somewhere between, I don't know, 14 to 17 points. I don't think this one should be close. I really don't. And there's just too much talent on Tampa's side of the ball. And if it was a couple of weeks ago, like maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, when Tampa's offense was just out of sync and the defense wasn't playing as well, that might be a different story. But they've been on fire these last 3 weeks. And I just don't see how Washington's going to be able to keep up. So it might be a little bit closer than I'm predicting, but I'll go 31-17 Tampa Bay.
And look, it's not that's not
realistic.
Crazy. Yeah, it's not a crazy realistic. At least you didn't come on here and say it's gonna be like 45-0. No. Like we've heard multiple times. Trevor, I really do appreciate you taking the time out, being able to come on. We love the Draft Network. We do your mock draft simulator all the time throughout the off season. You guys do incredibly good work over there. I can't thank you enough for taking the time out, sir.
Yeah, no, of course. I really, I appreciate you guys having me on. And anytime y'all want to have me on when it gets closer to draft time, we can talk some Washington draft classes, some strategies, all that kinds of stuff. Yeah, I'm more than willing. So I'd love to pop back on with y'all. Hey,
are you going to be releasing a new prospect, top 50, top 100 or so anytime soon? Or is it too early still?
It is. So I'm not sure exactly what our scouting staff's plan is. I will have one out within the next month, I'll just say, because I don't want to overpromise it, because I'm not sure. They might be like staggering like when each of the analysts release their top 100s or top 150s or something. So I don't want somebody to quote me on here and be looking for it, but I would like to have a top 100 out for this class starting in the off season, probably in the next month or so, early February, mid-February by the latest.
Good. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Trevor. Best of luck to you this weekend. A lot of our fans that are Tampa fans are just absolutely great people, and you held up well, and you're leading by example. I really do appreciate you taking the time out, sir.
Appreciate y'all. Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
Have a good one, sir.
Have a good one, man.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with Trevor Sikkema. That was a fantastic interview with Trevor.
Yes, sir.
I absolutely love everything that they do at the Draft Network, and for him to come on,
favorite draft website.
His camera work is
He had a fantastic camera. Yeah, he did. And I'm not gonna lie, Trevor, you remind me a little bit of Kirk Cousins.
I was thinking that when he came on.
I did not even think that.
Not as white, but you know.
Was he in the music choir in high school? That's on stage singing. Thank you, everybody. Well, welcome to the episode. Why not us? Featuring Trevor Sikkema, and we're also going to be joined by a very special guest here coming up soon. Trust me, guys, we were not going to allow this playoff matchup to come by without having a phenomenal line of guests for you. You know what I mean?
So it's a special time. You got to get special guests.
It could be our only time doing it this playoffs. You know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Us.
And so let me bump the question off you guys. It's been reported all week that Taylor Heinicke has taken the first team reps. And I've said it numerous times on Twitter that I believe that this is Ron Rivera kind of playing chess, you know, with Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians, making them game plan for both quarterbacks. So do you think it's just lip service, Reed? Do you think that Alex can just not practice all week and start on Saturday? Or do you think that this is a real thing and Taylor Heinicke's going to start?
I think it's a combination of both. I think Alex Smith can definitely not practice all week and still play. He's just that smart and he has that high of a football IQ. He knows what he's doing. And I also think that he's still probably hurting. Look, he still didn't look close to 100% when he was out there against the Eagles. But I think it's just a combination of things, man. They have to have a quarterback out there. They want to see what Taylor can do with the ones, and they want to be able to feel confident in him if they do have to switch to him. But I don't think that there's any chance Alex Smith really misses this game. Bruce Arians even said it. He said, what did he say? We're not facing, this isn't 7-9 Washington club with Dwayne Haskins. We're facing a 4-1 Washington club with Alex Smith. So I think he's kind of expecting it. And yeah, I think it's a combination of both, but I don't think that there's really any chance that Alex Smith doesn't start this week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's just, you know, Coach said that Alex was kind of sore today, and I think that's just lip service, personally. Yeah. I think that it all depends on Alex and how he's going to come on Saturday and how he feels. And just like you said, I think that he's going to look really good on Saturday, and they're going to say, all right, let's go. And they're going to start him. And I've said it numerous times. I feel like Taylor Heinicke came off the bench really well against Carolina. And the best thing that he had was he didn't have any expectations, you know, when he came in the game. They were losing. They were in a pretty bad spot. So just gunsling it, baby. Just throw it all over the field. And if he gets put in that kind of situation on Saturday, I feel like that's the best possible way to go about it. What about you, Hall? Do you think that Smith is going to get that start?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think he's going to get the start. I mean, he wouldn't have came back. This is what he came back for, pretty much. He didn't come back to, like, play in a playoff game, obviously. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the large goal to win a Super Bowl. But he came back to prove everybody wrong and to prove it to himself that he can do it. But he wouldn't have come in and made it this far to sit out this game. He's going to try to, just like Mike Evans, like he hasn't played in a playoff game his whole career. He's playing in this game. So not the same scenario for Alex Smith. He's played in playoff games, but one of those things where he's like, he's not missing this game unless his leg is like hanging off. Like, again, no offense, but you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, though, he's not missing the game unless it's like some dire thing. Right. And I do think that, I kind of think it's split down the middle as far as Ron Rivera, because he's always been a straight shooter, whether it's with the media, the players, the coaching staff, anybody. So I do think that Alex Smith is kind of sore still. Again, the calf injury is usually like a 1 to 4 week thing or a 3 to 4 week thing, just like Jay Glazer reported.
Yeah.
We're coming up on 4, maybe 5 weeks, I think, right now. So there's probably some residual soreness because of the whole surgery thing. But as far as him starting, he's definitely going to start. And who knows? We might see Heinicke in some packages. In my opinion, the only way we see Heinicke is if the game gets out of hand and it's like we're getting like smashed, or just like, all right, throw him out there, see what happens. But yeah, I definitely think Alex is going to be our number one starter, and barring some crazy blowout, he'll finish the game as well.
Yeah, and today it came about that Chase Young won NFC Player of the Month. Defensively, phenomenal stuff. And I love that he got asked again about his statement on Tom Brady, saying, I want Tom. And I loved his rebuttal back. And he basically said, you'd be crazy not to. You know what I mean? I just want a ball. And a lot of credit to Chase Young. The dude I can't thank enough how awesome of a pick that was.
He said, why wouldn't I want to sack the GOAT?
Right.
Why wouldn't I? And Brady was like, I think he's still got a little bit of a Michigan, Ohio State thing going on.
That was a great comeback, by the way.
That was funny. Tom, that's just a Tom Brady thing to say.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So
I mean, look, he said he was just like, look, that's what I do. I'm a defensive player. I want to get every quarterback I go against. So, like, why would I not want to go and sack Tom Brady of all people? But my job is to go after. Yeah, exactly. My job is to go after quarterbacks. So why would I not say, like, hey, I want to get this quarterback. I want to get that quarterback. That's my job. So I love that mentality. We need people on our defense like that. We need people in our organization like that.
Yeah, and I just love his mindset, because he said the same thing against Lamar in the preseason. Beat reporters from the area said the same thing to Lamar about Lamar, and he said, yeah, it's Lamar because I want to sack the best. He wasn't guaranteeing a victory because the Colonel sent me a video from Undisputed with Shannon Sharp, and Shannon Sharp is like, they better not come out and have a blank. This is gonna be on Chase and everything like that. Like, he's not saying he's gonna destroy them, dude. Right. He just says he wants to sack him.
He's not guaranteeing a win.
Exactly. Right. He's a confident person. He's confident in his abilities, and he's confident that I'm gonna go and get after Tom Brady like I've been doing for the past month.
Every pass rusher wants to get a sack every
if you don't, first of all, if you don't have that type of mentality in the NFL, you shouldn't even be in the NFL.
All right.
So to be the number 2 overall pick, you got to have the mentality to go into the game. So
I think that was such a respect thing too, where he wants to play against the GOAT, like he said, and Tom Brady too recognizes it. He's a young kid. He wants to play. This is his first playoff game. He's going against the greatest of all time. Of course, it's a respect thing.
Yeah, 150%.
That's right.
The one thing that has been talked about, I alluded to it with Trevor, but I wanted to get your guys' opinions on this. The Deshaun Watson trade rumors and everything like that. Hall and I were briefly talking before we started recording. So, Reed, I want to get your opinion on it. What would it take for you to say no to because we all would take Deshaun Watson. I don't think there's anybody in this room that wouldn't. So, what would make you say no? At what point?
I mean, if they were to need somebody like a Chase Young or an Antonio Gibson or Terry McLaurin, somewhere around there, you're just going, nah, it's not for me, Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's really not much. I mean, like we talked about a little bit in the group, but there's not much that I wouldn't give up for him. I mean, the franchise quarterback that's young in his prime, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, coming off of his best season with no weapons, pretty much. I shouldn't say no weapons, but no DeAndre Hopkins. He had no running game. He had a poor offensive line, a poor defense. I know they didn't win many games, but he had statistically the best season he's ever had. There's not much I wouldn't give up for Deshaun Watson. I would be okay with anything.
Yeah, look, and I was telling Hall, of course, obviously I'd want Deshaun, but the one issue, the one concern that I have is a kind of situation like Alex, where you give up a lot of money. You give up Kendall Fuller for a guy, and then he gets injured the first year, and now you're without a guy for the second or third year, and you don't have those draft picks there. And that's where I kind of come back and worry and say, look, I love Deshaun, I absolutely do, but there is a cutoff point. And I saw the report today by, I think it was like Ian Rappaport. What did he say? He said he thinks it would take 5 first-round picks to get it done.
It was like, I forget who it was, but yeah.
As soon as he said that, I was like, that is ridiculous. I'm not even going to entertain that idea. Mm-hmm. What about you, Hall? What's your cutoff point for it?
Yeah, like you were saying before, like I was just like joking around. Like even if we did somehow finesse our way and like literally just stumble our way into like trading for Deshaun Watson and giving up whatever, it would be our luck that's like he would come out and somehow, some way just tear his ACL or some ankle break or something crazy would happen where he would just not finish the whole season out. And we would just be like, once you, like you said, stuck again with a huge contract, even though he's still young and is going to bounce back from it, a huge contract with no draft picks to really build around for when he actually does come back and stuff like that. But I digress. My cutoff point would be like, again, like you said, when you got to give up anything more than maybe 2 first rounders, maybe like I would think it would be like 2 first rounders, I guess maybe 3 first rounders, like Trevor was saying, a player, maybe like a Deron Payne type guy.
Yeah, and speaking
and Landon Collins, so yeah.
That would get it done, but the one thing I am concerned, like I know everyone keeps talking about, there's no way that the Houston Texans would move on from him. But the thing is, in my opinion, they don't have early rounders right now, and they're not in that position to do so. And we're also joined by very special guest, former Washington football team defensive tackle Adam Carricker. Thank you so much for joining us, Adam. Are you there, buddy? Sorry, I can't hear you yet.
Yet.
Oh, it shows it on here. Oh, now it's connecting to his audio. Sorry. Yeah. Adam will be here in just a moment, in any second. There you go. How you doing, sir? Hey, Adam, you there? I'm not sure what's going on with him.
Well, who better to talk to about our defensive line?
I know. That's what
I
know. The GOAT. Dude, have you seen pictures of Adam recently, too? The dude is gigantic.
Yeah.
Almost as big as me there.
You're getting up there, absolutely. So, Adam, as soon as you get in here, just let us know. We'll start this off. But there's no one better that I really want to be able to discuss this with than Adam Carricker, especially one of the biggest things that's been talked about recently is London Fletcher not getting into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I think that's it's really weird, like, putting the stats next to each other, how London is not in the conversation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because London Fletcher, I remember hearing like him talking about how he would go and take an ice bath before and after games just to be able to have his body healthy. And to think about all those people, a lot of players that get injury prone, London was literally the Iron Man.
Right.
Yeah, Iron Man. Yeah.
But if you think about it, it makes sense. It's ridiculous. I think we can all agree on that. But London never got the respect he deserved. He didn't even make a Pro Bowl until the end of his tenure with Washington. And I mean, that was towards the end of a very long career. So I mean, it's just disappointing and it sucks. And I think if anybody deserves to be in there, it's this undrafted free agent who was just a solid, phenomenal Pro Bowl level football player, won a Super Bowl. And he was the Iron Man, like you said, Kyle, for nearly 20 years. I mean, this guy was legit.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, for every team that he played for, he was legit. Like you said early on with the Rams, he was a legit player.
Yep.
Moves on to
Bills.
Buffalo. Yeah, he's a legit player, one of the top linebackers in the league. It's at one point he comes down to Washington, and people think, oh, he's one of the Washington signing the older players again. Here we go again. Nope, just consistently grinding it out as one of the leading tacklers on the team every year. It's a leader in the locker room, and yeah, he definitely deserves at least some consideration at the most, or at the least.
Hey, so Adam, do we have you yet, sir? Oh,
nope.
Looks like we lost him. Oh, looks like we're going to try to get him back on here. Let me send him the invite again. But seriously, though, like, how is London not in the conversation yet? I know that Ray Lewis has similar statistics, and they're very close to one another in a way, but how? Like, I just don't – I can't wrap my head around it, to be perfectly honest with you, because I do think that he absolutely deserves it. Now, let's start talking about this Tampa Bay matchup a little bit, fellas. And I wanted to ask you, what is one area or facet of the game that Washington has to dominate in order to win this football game? And I'll start with you, Reed.
Go ahead. Say that again. I'm sorry. I got a text from Lizzie about James.
What is one area or facet of the game that Washington has to dominate in order to put themselves in a position to win?
A little bit. We kind of touched on it a little bit on Tuesday. They really need to get pressure on Tom Brady. They need to get to Tom Brady. Tom Brady in games that Tampa has allowed 3 or more sacks. They are 1-3 in those games with their only win coming against the Falcons. I really think that this is a game where, yes, their offensive line is fantastic, but we have Tom Brady is not Jalen Hurts, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not some of these mobile quarterbacks like Kyler Murray that have crushed us in the past. And I really think that if you can, like Kyle, like you talked about, pull some stunts with Chase Young and Montez Sweat, where all of a sudden the pocket is collapsing behind Brady, Brady's forced to step up, and then you have to deal with a Montez Sweat or Chase Young who's in there. I think that is the way that you dominate, and that you're going to have to. You got to get to Tom Brady. With those pass catchers, with that offense, you have to make sure that you're getting to Tom Brady at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, welcome back, Adam. Hopefully we got you on here, sir. How you doing? Adam, you there?
Let's see.
Doesn't say he's muted on my end. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if you move your mouse to the upper right-hand portion of the screen, and there's the 3 dots. Maybe if you click those.
I believe he's doing it on his phone. I think that's why it's going on right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but seriously, though, I mean, I don't get it. What's one area or facet for you, Hall?
It kind of goes along with Reed's get pressure on Brady, collapse the pocket from the middle, kind of move Brady off his mark, and that's you can't give up the huge plays. Trevor hit on it. These pass catchers have been outstanding these past couple of weeks. I believe Brady's thrown for over 1,000 yards over the past 3 or 4 games of the season, something like that. So it was like 1,300 or something crazy like that, actually. But Yeah, definitely Antonio Brown. He's a speedy guy. Scotty Miller, speedy guy. Obviously, Mike Evans, even if he's 60 to 70%, can still do some damage. Chris Godwin across the middle, intermediate routes, and he can do the big play as well. So definitely, we got to stop. We can't let the big play happen. And yeah, that's how I see it. Because again, we want to have ball control, time control, and if you're giving up big plays, I mean, we're not a very potent offense to say the least. So we're not gonna be able to keep up if they're killing us with big plays.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, the biggest aspect that they have to dominate is the run game. I mean, that is where, because the Bucs being the number one rush defense in the league, and Washington, their MO all season long has been run the ball effectively and not have to throw the ball many times less than 200 yards to be successful so far. So in my opinion, they have to be able to have some sort of success on the ground to keep the defense at least somewhat respecting it so they can have play action off of it. You know what I mean?
Right. And like Trevor said, I mean, Tampa allowing or not just allowing dump offs and then not allowing much downfield. I mean, you're going to have to try to get something in the run game going in order for you to be able to take those shots, because if they're just sitting there banking on a deep ball at some point, knowing that you're going to have to throw it eventually, I mean, that's what they're going to do. They're going to be able to pick Alex Smith apart with something like that if he can't throw it down the field. So you're going to have to establish the run. You're going to have to get something going and get those safeties to bite up. So I don't know. It's tough, man. It's a very tough matchup.
Yes,
tall cup of glass of water. Is that what they're saying?
You look like a tall drink of water, Hall.
No, but seriously, if you could have predictions for the game on Saturday night, let's go with sacks, and I'll start with you, Hall.
Sacks. By Washington, I will go. A tough one because it is a pretty good offensive line. They'll get 3 sacks. 3. I'll go 3.
You go 3? I'm not sure if they're going to get to that much, but hopefully they do, because
I'm being optimistic, man.
That is optimistic, and I'll go with 3 or 4. I think you're right. I know I hated on a little bit, but I don't feel that to be the case in this game. I know that they have struggled to get after some of these quarterbacks as of late, but Tom's not a movable quarter. He's not a mobile quarterback. He doesn't escape the pocket, which has really hampered them for the past couple weeks. And so if they can get home with 4, dude, that's all gravy, baby, in my opinion. What about you, Reed? What's your prediction for sacks on Saturday night?
See, now I would like to say 5, because I would like to just be like, you know what, we're going to go out there, we're going to sack Tom Brady.
That would be a dominating,
right? But no, I just think we all know Tom Brady is not necessarily thought of as a mobile quarterback, but he does move very well within the pocket. I mean, he's one of the greatest at all time of stepping up and throwing and finding a lane to make the throws. So his pocket movement is just out of this world. So, I mean, even at his old age, it's still going to be tough to get to him. I mean, you're right. Trevor was right. Donovan Smith is the weakest link on that offensive line. He's going to be matched up with Chase Young a lot. So I like to think Chase could get something going. But at the same time, Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich are pretty smart on the offensive side of the ball. So I think they're going to keep somebody there. I'm gonna go with 2. I think it's going to be tough for us to really get anything going there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's a good prediction. It really is. Now, what about for score and MVP of the game?
Talking to me this time?
Yeah.
Score and MVP. See, I'm debating whether or not I should bring. No, I guess last time it worked when we all picked Washington. So, I'm going to go with Washington is going to end up winning this ball game. And unforeseen MVP, I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson. Not necessarily because he's going to run the ball well, not because of that, but because he's finally going to be more involved in the passing game than J.D. McKissick is. And it's because you're going to want them to think he's on the field to run the ball, and he's going to come out of this backfield, and all of a sudden Alex Smith is going to dump it off to him and just dump it off. And as we've seen, Antonio Gibson has some fantastic vision for somebody who just converted to running back, and he can make some plays with those legs, man. I'll tell you what, man, that boy, he can cut on a dime, man. That boy, he is so fast sometimes, man. He's just like, boom, and he's gone. So you run a couple spider 2-wide bananas, and then you can get out there, man. You can get him the ball. I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson, and I'm going to say the Washington football team is going to win this game 28-24, but they will be down 17-3 at halftime.
Well, every time you have to keep going back to that, man.
If they put up 25 points in the second half, I'll be highly excited.
The only reason I went with that is because last week, all 3 of us picked Washington to win, and we won. So I'm keeping the streak going.
Now you got to keep the streak going. What about you, Hall?
I am not going to get the streak going. I just think that I do think we're going to keep it close.
Well, now you're just making me look dumb. Thanks.
Yeah. I wanted to stop you while you were going, but I was like,
well, if we lose, it's on you.
It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just think that I think it's going to go either two ways. It's going to be this side of the spectrum. It's going to be they're going to come out fast in the first quarter, and they're going to put up 21, 28 points on us, and we're just going to be like, whoa, what do we do now? Or this side of the spectrum. There's no in the middle. So this side of the spectrum, I think we're going to keep it close. It's going to come down to the last 5 minutes of the game, and that's when Brady obviously has made his magic throughout the years and has made his career as the GOAT. The last 2 to 5 minutes of the game, that's crunch time. That's Mr. Crunch time that we're playing against this week. So I will go in a nail-biter. Tampa Bay, unfortunately, beats us. Low-scoring games. I think the defense has a pretty dominating game as far as you can dominate Tom Brady in that offense.
Right.
I'll go 21-17.
Ooh, I'm not sure if Tampa is going to score that little of points.
MVP for me, Antonio Brown. I think he's going to twerk on us at least twice.
Oh, man. Okay, before I get into my prediction for MVP and everything, third time's a charm, Adam. Are you there? Oh, man, drats. For some reason, his mic is showing that it's on, but for some reason, his audio is not coming through. We can see his video and everything. He can hear us and see us, but his audio, for some reason, is just not coming through. I'm not sure what's going on. It might be his mic settings.
Maybe your mic settings, or if you have your headphones plugged in, maybe you could try to take them out and just talk to it. Try to talk to it normal on speaker. Maybe that'll work a little bit, even though it sounds better with headphones, obviously. But you know, anything's worth a try. I really want to hear Adam's opinion on this defensive line.
Especially the defensive line and how they're going with two stellar defensive lines in this game.
Yes,
with Tampa being number one against the rushing defense, number one rushing defense in the league, and then Washington's defense being one of the best in the league as well. I would absolutely love to see that. Now, my prediction for the game, I got to go Washington, baby. I'm going to go 27-24. I think we're going to have a big game from Sir Steven Sims in special teams. I think he's going to have a bounce-back week. I know. It's crazy.
You said Steven Sims?
Yeah.
Leave.
Coach.
That's my enemy, man.
Coach showed that he has some respect for Steven Sims. And he said, look, if we had somebody better, I would start him.
I saw that. And I giggled at that. I'm not going to lie.
I know you did. Because I know Steven Sims is easy to poke. He's easy to poke fun at.
Look, it's only because he's doing bad. I loved Steven Sims last year when he was cutting on a dime, balling out, making catches, making touchdown catches. He's having a down year. You can't blame him. You know.
No, you can blame him when it
that's why I stopped. That's why I stopped it. I was you can't. Well, he's just having a down year. He's having a down
year. Like Coach kind of said, the weather conditions last week were kind of bad, and I get that, Coach. I'm not gonna destroy the guy too much, but at the same time, the weather conditions have not been as bad over the course of the season, and somehow
how are they going to be this Saturday night as well? Like it's still going to be cold and like damp out or like whatever, whatever you want to call it. But
right, absolutely, and I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I really do. Now, something else I wanted to talk about with you guys. How would Washington be able to run the ball on this defensive line for Tampa? They are incredibly good. They are one of the better fronts in the league, and like I've talked about, they're going to need to be able to do that. So, Hall, in your opinion, how can you try to run the ball on them?
I think it's going to have to be a lot of misdirection, using a guy coming in motion, using J.D. McKissick or Antonio Gibson kind of crossing, mismatch and stuff like that. Maybe I would say some outside zone stuff, but you had JPP and Shaq Barrett out there. And then you look on the inside. I mean, I guess you can kind of maybe hopefully run some trap game and kind of catching Dominican Sue running upfield, slipping a couple times and sneaking up the field. But I definitely think it goes back to what I was saying on Tuesday, where we got to kind of open the offense up and take some shots down the field where it's not like everyone condensed in the box trying to stop the short game, stop the run game. Take some shots down the field, get the safety a little bit outside the box, make the linebackers play a little bit deeper to respect that pass over across the middle and the intermediate routes. And that'll maybe open up the rushing lanes for Antonio Gibson. But it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What about you, Reed? How can Washington try to run the ball on them in this game? I know they're number one rush defense in the league. It's going to be borderline impossible. How do you see it done?
Yeah, I mean, well, nothing's impossible, but no, it's gonna be
Especially
very
to
tough.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. It's gonna be tough. You're just gonna have to have Alex Smith just use his veteran leadership and Scott Turner to kind of get creative, and Alex Smith to take advantage of the defensive front and the formations and kind of get us guys in position and audible into the right plays and call the right plays. And Scott Turner's gonna have to be creative, but you're also gonna have to mix it up. You know, I mean, maybe if you can get McKissick or Antonio Gibson bounce to the outside and try to get them going kind of early and pick up some yardage, maybe that'll help. Also, the short passing game could really maybe help set up the running game, but it's going to be really hard against this defense.
Yeah, it is. I know it is. But in my opinion, in this game, I think I know I was going to do my prediction. But I said 27-24, but I think my MVP of the game is going to be J.D. McKissick. I think it's going to be out of the backfield, that short yardage throws from Alex, getting those needed necessary downs, being able to prolong drives. I think this is going to be J.D. McKissick's game, and they're going to be heavily dependent on him because they're not going to be able to go to the middle, and that's where he's good at. And I would not be surprised if we see a bunch of trick plays this weekend. I think Scott Turner is really going to pull out everything that they got because they know what they're playing with. You know what I mean? So absolutely, I believe that Scott Turner is going to dial something up to be able to get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. I think it's a lot of it comes down to Scott Turner and just being creative and just playing smart, man. Just coaching a smart game, having a game plan in place, making sure your guys know it and they know exactly what's going on, and just really just getting your guys prepared. But it's hard, but it's not impossible. Nothing is impossible. Impossible is nothing, except for I used to hate it when people used to say that, when people would be like, nothing is impossible. Because I'd be like, really? Nothing? Like, what if I tried to jump from here to the moon, like right now? Is there any way that'll ever happen? No.
No, dude, you buy those Nike the Nike pumps, dude. You might be able to do it.
Well, yeah, for a while I thought maybe that the Vince Carter Nike Shocks might work, but that I'm super white. I could barely even get like 4 inches off the ground. It didn't work. No, I can't do that.
Yeah, so
plus space in the ozone layer, and then like not having a helmet, like that's not.
Yeah,
that'll explode.
I apologize, everybody. I know I told you guys we're gonna have the second one, but it looks like us in the interview with Adam is gonna be postponed to a later date. Just looked like we could not get the audio to go, which is unfortunate. Like you couldn't even hear his background noise. I'm not sure what was going on there. He wasn't even using headphones, he told me.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, maybe we can have him on. Hopefully he'll be available or sometime shortly, maybe next week, and we can go over the game and we can get his thoughts on it. And who knows, maybe then we'll be looking forward to a different game.
Speaking of the game and Scott Turner, going back to what you were saying about kind of the trick plays and stuff. I mean, at this point, this could possibly be the last game of the season. So what do you got to lose?
Exactly.
Let it rip. Let it all out there.
Right.
Empty the playbook. Go down to the deep depths. I'm talking about page 87, line 5 of the playbook, and bring out the double reverse pass back to Alex Smith. Let him lip into the end zone. Let's see that.
Yeah, he already used the annexation of Puerto Rico. I mean,
exactly.
You can dive deep.
That worked to perfection, by the way.
But
they should just run that like every time. That'd be pretty sad.
The Colonel has a couple questions for us.
Colonel always has good questions, by the way.
Questions.
I will say that, Colonel. Good for you.
Do you guys think the Washington football team will have a sense of urgency to acquire a quarterback this season? He says they don't have a high enough draft pick to get one of the big names. If so, are we going to go after Rivers, Stafford, Winston, or one of the lower tier college quarterbacks? So I'll start with you, Reed.
I think that the urgency is fairly high. Look, I do know that they really like Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen actually did not play bad. I think that they're very high on him. They do think that they can win with him.
Right.
But I do think that if you have the opportunity to go out there, I mean, there's people talking about Derek Carr being available as well. He's somebody who is I always feel like Derek Carr's gotten more hate than he's deserved. He's never been terrible.
I said that on Twitter like 3 weeks ago. People were like killing me for it.
Dude, Kevin just came over today, and we were talking outside. We met up outside. We were talking. He's a Raiders fan, and he literally was talking trash about Derek Carr. He was like,
he's been talking trash about Derek Carr since the day they drafted him.
His literal quote was, "I don't want to have to go through another offseason of talking trash about Derek Carr."
But I don't get it though. I mean, I know stats don't tell the whole story, but if you really go back and look at his statistics of his career, he's been very good, especially the last 2 years under Gruden. Especially, he's been very good. But also, I mean, if you just watched Hard Knocks when the Raiders were on it, not this past offseason, but the season before, all the players that have been there for a while were talking about, they were like, when Derek's rookie year, when he came and you saw him release that ball, it just came off of his hand different. You just knew he was a different quarterback. So like, he's got respect. I just think maybe he hasn't been put in the best positions. But another person from the Raiders that actually kind of piques my interest a little bit, just because I think he could work. I'm going to, just because I think he could work in this offense with his mobility, and he does have natural talent. I will say that. And people from Hawaii and Samoans, those are some of the hardest workers I know. You know, those guys don't quit on anything.
That's true.
Except for apparently Marcus Mariota and his Titans teammates. But I'll say I wouldn't mind bringing Marcus Mariota in here just to see if there's anything he could do. I mean, if there's nobody else available, if you're not going to get a Stafford, a Carr, or, you know, obviously, or be in a position to draft anybody, which they shouldn't be, I wouldn't mind bringing in some competition. You know, I mean, obviously, he wouldn't sign a huge deal, but I would be interested to see what he could do. He's somebody I'd like coming out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm saying I liked him when he came out of the.
I wouldn't hate the idea just because he is mobile and he would kind of.
He does have a lot of natural ability too. I mean, obviously, I don't think he'd end up being the franchise guy, but it could be fun.
Hey,
take a flyer on him.
I've been on record. I've said it many, many times that I would not mind Cam. And look, I know everyone is jumping on that.
That's worse than Mariota.
That is crazy. That is insane. But this is the former league MVP.
I would rather have Alex Smith be the starter next year.
Without a doubt.
That's saying a lot.
I understand. Right. I get it. But my belief is that Alex Smith is going to retire in the offseason.
Oh, yeah.
So with my mindset,
that's what I'm saying.
With a carryover, I would say put Cam Newton back with Scott Turner, the under guy who Norv coached, who Ron Rivera got the most out of. And the biggest thing for me, though, is the proven leadership. He is, regardless, when Cam Newton walks into the room, he owns it. It's Cam.
You have heard a lot of Patriots players say that they're like, Cam just has something about him that you're just drawn to.
Right. And that's what
we already have that in Chase Young. So why do we need two people?
And if you're only throwing less than 10 touchdowns a year.
Especially on offense. I think Cam and Chase would get along great. Look, I understand. I understand the bum shoulder. I get that he has only thrown for 7 or 10 touchdowns this year as the quarterback.
He got it to 8 because he played the Jets on Sunday.
I understand. All I'm saying.
The Jets were riding a 2-game win streak, so.
Hey, they were on a high note. But seriously, though, Cam is, with the weapons that he has, New England is really depleted. I think Belichick punted on the season, if I'm going to be honest. And they've done that, and I don't think Josh McDaniels is that good of an offensive coordinator. I know it's crazy. I know it's insane, but Cam can sign for cheap. You're not bending over backwards for a quarterback. You're not mortgaging huge assets and picks. And you're getting a proven leader that you know is going to work hard and has a chip on his shoulder. I'll still go back to that Odell Beckham interview that he did, and he talks about, everyone talking about me, and that just makes you grind harder and harder and harder. That's what I want to see. That's the kind of quarterback that I want in the building. That's why I want Cam.
Can I rebuttal that? Because all we did was see videos in the offseason how hard Cam was working out. He was in the gym. He was in the locker room. He was making videos. He was
working out with Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, he was making videos. He's in there sweating like, they was talking about me. I'm going to show them.
Yeah.
You showed us 8 touchdowns.
That's a great rebuttal, by the way.
You showed us 10 interceptions. And you showed us a bunch of fumbles. It really is.
You just killed me.
I wouldn't mind signing Dwayne Haskins.
The whole leadership aspect, he demanding respect in the locker room. And could he have a bounce back year? Yes, because there's not a lot to work with up in New England right now. The wide receivers are like probably the worst in the league, honestly.
Doo-doo butter.
But towards the bottom of the league, if not the worst. So that's the only kind of excuse I will give him. But that also doesn't excuse you literally staring down the receiver, throwing an interception against the Broncos. Doesn't excuse you dropping the ball against the Bills, losing the game against like that. So he threw for 300-some yards against Seattle. So definitely still has some. He still has it in him still.
The only thing I'm saying is that the offense and the people they have here
it's tailored for him. I know it's
are really similar to what he had in Carolina. Terry McLaurin, you could say, is like Steve Smith, Greg Olsen, Logan Thomas, and then you have the threat in the backfield with J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson. And
the only way I wouldn't hate it is if it's like I saw 2 years, $50 million. So that's $25 million a year. That's not really that. It's not really a lot because quarterbacks are going for 35 plus nowadays. But I would still even give him that's disrespectful. Now I'm not gonna say that. Right. I guess 25. I was gonna say 20 mil, but I was like, that's really disrespectful. But yeah, man, I'm just saying, man. I don't know. Look, would he come here and prosper? Most likely, yes. He's gonna be better than anything we got this year going into next year. I just watched him this year, and I'm just like, I don't know if he bounce back from that.
I will say that there are 2 young quarterbacks whose teams are giving up on them that one of them is on a very cheap contract, so I would not mind giving him a 1-year flyer, just seeing if we can get it, and that would be Gardner Minshew. Minshew mania, baby.
You know, it's crazy. I'm surprised.
No, but seriously, I would love to get Sam Darnold. I'm not even gonna lie. As long as you didn't have to give up a lot for him, Sam Darnold is so talented. He's just been in a bad situation. You see flashes of it all the time. I think that here, having Terry, having an offensive line playing the way that it does, actually having a running game and a creative offensive coordinator, I think Sam Darnold could actually prove some people wrong and actually play very well this year.
And I will say the whole Deshaun Watson news could actually drive down the value requested from the Jets for Sam Darnold because they want to be able to get rid of it. But I just don't think that's going to happen. The Carson Wentz thing is not going to happen because if they really did want to shop Carson Wentz, he would have played in that game in Week 17. They would have shown that he can still play to get him out. And that's my personal opinion. Because they did that for Nate Sudfeld. They said, look, you're about to go into free agency. Let's put some tape out there for you. With Carson, he ended the season on a terrible, terrible note. That way, I just don't see it happening where they would be able to get that much for him.
The only thing is Carson has a resume. Carson has proven that he can play.
And he can come out there and snap his ankle, blow his ACL out, and then you definitely can't trade him. And then you got to sit him on the roster. We got to not even play him next year. So I actually think it was smart to sit him out because, first of all, he would have gave him the best chance to win outside of Jalen Hurts. And secondly, again, if he comes out and gets injured, then next thing you know, he's on your books next year, and you can't move him. So
and one of the other Colonel question, and let's bring it back to the playoff matchup because it's huge. Obviously, we went on a rant trying to get with
Adam. Playoff game on Saturday. What
there is crazy?
Yeah.
No, but seriously, his next question was, how can other pods say the Washington football team is incompetent on offense when they have Terry, Gibby, Logan, and McKissick for the game healthy this weekend? And I'll start with you, Reed.
I think that those guys having your playmakers, like, people don't really understand. I guess a lot of it has to do with the bad quarterback play that we've had, but those playmakers, we have some very, very good playmakers at it. You're honestly just a quarterback away, I feel like, from this offense really playing well. Maybe a number 2 receiver, obviously, but Terry McLaurin is top of the line. Antonio Gibson's top of the line. He's going to be top of the line. J.D. McKissick, one of the best pass-catching backs in the NFL. Logan Thomas, one of the better tight ends in the NFL. He shocked the world. He's fantastic, and he's only getting better. I get the disrespect because nobody's really put up the numbers aside from Terry and Gibson when he was fully healthy. But I don't know. I hate the disrespect that they get. Everybody just automatically hears of our offense and automatically thinks that we're like the Patriots right now, and it's like, no, we got a little bit more firepower than that there, my guys.
And the offensive line as well. I saw Pro Football Focus had rated them, every single lineman was above the top 15 in the league at their relative position, so offensive line is definitely a key there. What about you, Hall?
I think Reed hit the nail right on the head, and like literally I think that
I'm like a carpenter with it.
Yeah, man, you're like, I'm gonna call you Hammerhead Reed.
Jesus? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Hammerhead Reed from now on. But now, what was I gonna say? I don't even know.
That's too serious of a nickname for Reed.
No, it might not be though.
Oh, the Hammerhead's coming. Oh,
because the shape.
Now, damn, I forgot what I was gonna say now.
I'm thinking about the nickname.
Talking about how I hit the nail on the head.
Oh yeah. I think that they get disrespected because of the quarterback play. I think that Alex Smith was even like slightly mobile and was able to elude the rush even a little bit, or like maybe get outside the pocket and make a few plays with his legs still. I don't think they're really getting disrespected as much as they are, but even if Kyle Allen was a quarterback right now because he's mobile, he can get outside, he can kind of create with his legs. But literally it comes down to because Alex Smith's calf is not 100% and people just pretty much think he's a sitting duck back there. So.
Yeah. Now, let's start a new segment to finish up this episode. I know we kind of wasted the back half here, but let's do a pregame ritual, right? Let's say that you were able to break the pregame huddle with everybody. I know Chase did it last week for the game, but if you have 30 seconds, 45 seconds to be able to spit to the team, give them some motivational words right before the game for this big playoff matchup for the fan base, what would you be saying, Hall?
You all know I'm not a big talker. I'm just a go out there and guy and just
come on
does it, but his actions. But I would be like, yo, telling one of the trainers, one of the people, one of the little water people, I don't know. Let me see your cell phone real quick. I'd pull up Ron Rivera's halftime speech to Carolina when they were getting their asses whipped by whoever it was, walking off the field, and he was like just cussing up a storm, getting in people's faces. I would literally just play that in the huddle with a speaker, and I mean that makes you run through a brick wall right there. And that's all I got to say.
Ooh, what about you, Reed? What would be your pregame motivational speech to the Washington football team for this playoff matchup?
Well, I think that one thing that I would be able to do is probably just play the intro from Madden 13, Madden 12 with Ray Lewis on the cover. That just gets me hyped to do anything. Ray Lewis could talk me into anything. I'd jump off a bridge for the guy.
That's how your son was born.
Actually, that's 100% true. Yeah, I was very, very drunk. But they say don't drink and drive. Don't drink and no, I would probably go in there and I'd probably kick open the door. I'd have everybody sitting there, and I'd be like, Chase, you're out there playing like a girl or something. What are you, a girl or something? Jonathan Allen, you're out there. You're not playing hard. You're a girl. What are you, a girl or something? Alex Smith, what are you, a girl or something? Let's get him fired up. What?
You are absolutely ridiculous. I thought we were going to take this seriously.
Oh,
that's fantastic. No, but seriously, dude. Honestly, if we had the chance to do it, I'd be saying to the team, Ron has said it multiple times, and so have I. You're playing with house money at this point. Nobody expected you guys to be here. Tampa Bay came into this matchup as the favorites. They had the best wide receiving core. They're the most talented team. They got the GOAT on their team. Nobody was expecting you guys to, let alone win more than 4 to 5 games, but to win the division and to win it in the fashion they did with 4 different quarterbacks. No, I don't care what's going on here. You are a dangerous animal. You have your back up against the wall. You have nothing to lose. Fire everything. For these 60 minutes, go all out, give it everything you got, because DC has your back. Do it for the city. This fan base is probably, I say it multiple times, it's the best fan base in sports. It really does. It really is. And they wish that they could be in the stands for you. So please make it worth it for us. All this talk, we from Sunday night with Collinsworth and Al Michaels just disrespecting his team, saying that they threw it away. Go prove them why they didn't throw that game away, why you deserve to be here. Go punch them in the face. Go show them who you are. Show them why you're here and that you are not just some pushover like everyone is assuming that you are. Go whoop some ass. And that's all I would say, to be perfectly honest with you. I know. No, seriously, man. I'm so tired of all the talk. Everyone goes in the playoffs 0-0. All that talk's out the window. And I really do hope that Chase gets that sack, man.
So do I. What if Chase ended up ending Brady's career?
Don't say that.
A la Aikman, LeVar Arrington.
Knock on wood.
Why would you knock on wood?
So I don't want something.
I don't want
you to say that, and then all of a sudden the reverse happens, and something crazy happens.
Okay, well, you just put that juju out there.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I didn't even want to go there. Of course, I had to ruin it.
Ask me the question. I'm just saying.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this pod episode of Why Not Us. Why Not Us? A huge matchup for Saturday night. The Washington football team is facing off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. One little stat that I saw, I think somebody said away teams being favored in a playoff matchup in the wild card round. There has been 3 teams to do it. All 3 teams have lost. The statistics are there, baby. I think it's going to happen, in my opinion. 27-24. MVP of the game is going to be J.D. McKissick. I think Alex Smith is going to get it done. Everybody, we love you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. It's been one hell of a season. I know as much as I want to talk about how great the 2012 season was, I feel like this one was even more special, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
So thank you to Trevor Sikkema. Thank you so much to Adam Carricker for trying to get on here to be able to give us his input into the game.
Can't wait for that interview.
Dude, he kept trying too. I got to give him credit, dude. He continued to leave, come back. He was trying to make it work. I really do. That sucks. I really wish we could have gotten his input on the game.
Why not us?
All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
Why not? I'm Hall. Why not?
And my new DJ name is DJ Tanner, because there's always a full house.
All right, everybody. Remember, before you go to sleep tonight, just keep chanting in your head, why not us? We'll see you guys on Tuesday for a recap of the game. All right, we'll see you guys.
Football team in all of world. Number 1. We're number 1. Number 1 Russia.
We no suck no more.
Yes, Mother Russia, number 1.
We don't suck no more. Washington football. Woo!
Why not?
Washington football. Woo!